What's going on, guys? I'm Tim Kelly. This is Phillies Stoplight for April 10th, and maybe, depending on when you're watching this, even April 9th. Am I recording this during the rain delay in the Atlanta game? Who's to say? But a lot of stuff to get to, even without knowing the end results of this game in Atlanta, or even if they resumed. So to a degree, depending on when you watch this, you know more than I do. But I'm going to get to a few other topics other than this Braves series here in today's show. The first is that Ranger Suárez pitched in a rehab assignment for Single-A Clearwater Thursday evening. He looked really good from what I can tell. 3 shutout innings. He struck out the side in the first inning. He had 4 strikeouts overall. He limited them to just 1 hitters. I get it. It's Single-A, but it's still a good sign. I saw Todd Zalecki say that he was sitting at 92 miles an hour, which is a really good sign because that's up even a little bit from where he was a year ago. So by all accounts, a really good first outing from Ranger Suárez in a really good first rehab outing. He only pitched 5 innings, game innings in spring training before getting shut down. So this isn't just a matter of make one appearance and then you're back in the majors. In addition to coming back from an injury now, he's also building himself up basically like it's spring training. So I've seen a lot of people talk about, well, what happens when Taijuan Walker, or what happens to Taijuan Walker when Ranger Suárez comes back? And I just don't think it's something that you need to be concerned about. It reminds me, a few summers ago, people were saying, well, what happens to Derek Hall when Bryce Harper comes back? Who cares? If it's still a problem when they come back, you figure it out. If you have too many good players, it's a nice problem to have. And as every MLB manager ever will tell you, they don't spend too much time worrying about those things because usually baseball takes care of itself. Maybe Taijuan Walker starts to struggle again. Maybe somebody else gets hurt in the rotation. Whatever the case may be, it's just not something worth worrying about. I will say, I think 100% when Ranger Suárez is back, he is back in the starting rotation. I do think it's possible, if not probable, at some point late in this season, he could shift to the bullpen and he could be a weapon out of the bullpen in the postseason, almost like what Zach Eflin was a few years ago for the Phillies in their 2022 postseason run. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I feel like it would kind of be a bad look in a contract year to do that to Ranger Suárez. And the reality, even in a really good starting rotation, if Ranger Suárez is healthy, he's one of your best options and you want him in the starting rotation. But it was a good first outing for him at Single-A Clearwater. Not sure when and where he's going to make the next outing, but assume 5 or 6 days he'll make that next outing. I don't know an exact timetable, but I would imagine late April, early May is when you're most likely, assuming there's no setbacks, talking about Ranger Suárez coming back. So this is not something that's necessarily imminent, like next time through the rotation, you have to make this decision. Taijuan Walker pitched really well in his first start. His second start, he held the Braves scoreless, maybe wasn't quite as sharp, but 10 2/3 innings scoreless so far. Hard to argue with that from Taijuan Walker, but we'll see what happens moving forward. I think you would have killed 2 weeks ago to have this problem where, oh my God, is Taijuan Walker pitching so well that when Ranger Suárez comes back, you're going to have to make a decision. Who knows? Honestly, right now, who cares? So that's kind of my thoughts on where the starting rotation stands currently. Another guy you're going to have to talk about making a spot in the rotation for, maybe going to a 6-man, which is something they could also theoretically do when Ranger Suárez comes back, is Andrew Painter. He's going to start Friday night in Single-A Clearwater. It's a big week for Clearwater this week. Ranger Suárez is there. Andrew Painter's there. Weston Wilson has been there rehabbing. So big week for the Threshers. This will be Andrew Painter's first start in affiliated ball since the 2022 season because spring of 2023 was pitching in Major League spring training, got hurt. It took a few months until they decided, all right, he needs Tommy John surgery. By the time you're done, he's out 2023, he's out 2024. So just a big milestone for Andrew Painter overall, getting back and pitching in this game. He pitched really well in the Arizona Fall League, and the Phillies have understandably been cautious. And I can tell you right now, you're going to be frustrated with the pace that they bring him along. But considering he's still only 21, considering he's coming off Tommy John surgery, it makes all the sense in the world to be super, super patient with him. And unlike some other teams that get some of these young arms up, you don't need him to come up and be the savior of your team right away. You have Zach Wheeler, you have Aaron Nola, Jesus Luzardo pitched. I don't know what the results of the Braves game were, but I know in the 6th innings, Jesus Luzardo pitched. He pitched really well. Christopher Sanchez, we're going to get to in a minute. He is obviously an all-star last season. I think a lot of people, myself included, think he'll take another step forward this year. So Andrew Painter is just another weapon. It's the rich getting richer. And I think Rob Thompson's already said, will be in the starting rotation whenever it is he comes up. Now, I wouldn't rule out the possibility in September, October, if he hits an innings limit, or just it makes the most sense that you utilize him almost in a David Price in 2008 type role, what the Rays did. But when he comes up, Andrew Painter is going to be in the starting rotation. That's exciting, but I don't think him being in the starting rotation for the Phillies is anytime soon. Tonight, Friday night, he's going to pitch 2 innings and or 35 pitches. That's according to Todd Zalecki. And the Phillies have said all along that July is around when they're targeting. Now, Dave Dombrowski's left some wiggle room. He said it could be June, it could be August, but Andrew Painter is not imminent. This actually isn't even a rehab start because he's not yet on the 40-man roster. So what's going to happen here? Andrew Painter makes this start, and it sounds like he's going to pitch about once a week early on, which makes sense. And I think he's a guy that's going to pitch once a week, even when he's at the majors, most likely. So Andrew Painter makes this start tonight, and I would imagine he'll make a few more at Clearwater, and you slowly progress. Remember, he's made some starts at AA. He's never pitched at AAA before, so unless you end up with glaring needs because of injuries or whatever the case may be in your major league rotation, I don't think there's anything wrong with making him kick the door in. You don't want to force it to the majors if it takes a little longer for him to get locked back in. That's not what I anticipate happening based on the way he pitched in the Arizona Fall League and just being around the Phillies. I don't think that's what they expect either. But if that's what happens, so be it. He's never pitched at AAA Lehigh Valley. I'm sure the Iron Pigs, who not as many veteran players make rehab appearances anymore, I am sure they would love to have Andrew Painter for a month or whatever the case may be. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I do think at some point this season, Andrew Painter is pitching in a Phillies uniform, and he's somebody over the long run that has a chance to be a frontline starter, and that's really exciting for the Phillies. And that first step is going to come Friday night in Clearwater, where he makes his essentially his return to an affiliated mound. I mean, I never know exactly how the Arizona Fall League counts because there's a partnership with the major league teams, but it's a weird scenario. In any event, first time since 2022 for Andrew Painter. Exciting night for the Phillies, and it comes in what's been one of the most exciting, most watched weeks probably in Threshers history. So exciting for them as well. The Phillies, beginning Friday, will head to Busch Stadium for a 3-game set. Sometimes in the afternoon when I'm working, I just throw on MLB.tv and see what game's on. And I happened to stumble on the Pirates and the Cardinals the other day, which was not exactly a great baseball game. It was 0-0 through 10 innings. Cardinals end up losing 2-1 in 13 innings to the Pirates. They were off Thursday, and they kind of needed to be off both. Mostly just because after a game like that's 13 innings, win or lose, that really taxes your bullpen. They used pretty much every single pitcher in their bullpen the other day, and certainly when you lose a game 2-1 in extra innings, in 13 innings you only put up 1 run against a team in the Pirates that has some good pitching but isn't, in my opinion, a very good overall team. It kind of helps to have that mental reset. So the Phillies, they'll head to Busch Stadium on Friday. The first pitching matchup is Aaron Nola versus Andre Palantin. Aaron Nola, we know kind of where things have been at. Too many home runs, 4 home runs given up over the first 2 games. I thought, and he said this, that he had some stretches in that Washington start on the first Sunday of the season where he looked great, ultimately gave up 2 home runs, and then last weekend against the Dodgers was not as sharp, gave up 2 more home runs. We kind of know what you're getting from Aaron Nola in general. This is someone that's going to eat a ton of innings. At times he'll pitch like an ace. At times he'll pitch more like a number 3. All the caveats that we say seemingly every year when these debates come up. But it is a legitimate thing to say. He needs to limit the home runs, and so far he hasn't done a good enough job doing that. It's one thing to give up 30 home runs a season. It's another, he's given up 2 home runs in each of his first 2 starts. You can do the math on what that comes out to over a 32 or 33 start season. It's not good. So this potentially is a spot for him to get back on track. Christopher Sanchez will pitch Game 2 against Miles Mikolas. Mikolas was a guy that had a few years where he was one of the more underrated starters in baseball. He'll still eat some innings, but he struggled the last couple years, has an 11.25 ERA through 2 years, so not necessarily somebody that you're scared of in Game 2. Christopher Sanchez was very good in his first start. Second start against the Dodgers, not great, although he made Shohei Ohtani look pretty bad and also was dealing with the elements. So I don't think it's a particularly concerning second outing for Christopher Sanchez. If you were high on him coming into the year, and I was, still a lot to like about Christopher Sanchez. And then Game 3, Zach Wheeler takes the ball looking to bounce back from what for him was a relatively underwhelming start. He'll pitch against Matthew Libator, who former first-round pick. They actually acquired him as part of the ill-fated Randy Arozarena trade with the Rays. He has a 5.84 ERA. To this point has not panned out maybe how they hoped. The Cardinals as a whole are an interesting team because they were going to kind of pivot. Like 2025 is a year. They already announced that next year they're going to have Chaim Bloom transition into being their president of baseball operations. He's kind of overseeing the minors this year. They wanted to do more of a sell-off in the offseason. They couldn't find a trade partner that worked, that Nolan Arenado would waive his no-trade clause for. Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras were flat out not interested in waiving their no-trade clauses, reportedly. So they didn't sell off in the way many expected. They did let Paul Goldschmidt go, former MVP. It's a big deal. But they don't look that dissimilar from what they've been. They didn't trade Ryan Helsley, who is one of the better closers in baseball, even though he's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start. But they can hit. The problem is they lost Ivan Herrera earlier this week. He's their catcher, was off to a great start. Wilson Contreras has really struggled. But Nolan Arenado looks a little bit revitalized early in the year. Brendan Donovan, Jordan Walker, Lars Nootbaar, Victor Scott. They have some guys off to a strong start. So this may be a team that ultimately only wins like 77 games, but they have some pieces that continue to intrigue you. So it should be a fun weekend in Busch Stadium. Exciting to see the Phillies there, and then they will be back for a homestand on Monday. We will have it all covered on Pattison, from Andrew Painter's rehab to the Phillies weekend series in St. Louis. For now, I'm Tim Kelly. This is Phillies Stoplight. I'll talk to you next time.